Okay, so this might possibly be the most boring video you'll ever see. Unless you have a genuine interest in this or you find it somewhat therapeutic. I'm not joking, I will literally sit in the evenings at night time in bed before I go to sleep and I will scroll through people on Instagram that are doing project pan, and I just find there's just something so satisfying. It's kind of what I'm doing today, but kind of not. I'm going to show you all the palettes that I've hit pan on. I kind of feel like colourful palettes like this, you're bound to hit pan at some stage, right? Or one or two of the shades. And I've actually hit pan on quite a few. 4. It's so surprising with these shades here because I don't use them all that often. I would mainly use like these orange shades more than anything, but then at the same time I would use like a bigger fluffier brush with these types of shades, so you're actually not going to be lifting and using much product, whereas these are kind of like my packing on types of shades, so I'm going to be a wee bit more heavier handed. I'm going to need more of that shadow. Does that make sense? We have this palette from Colourpop. Very first time I used it, I hit pan. I think it's not much, but you can definitely see. You can definitely see that wee silver bit coming through. Anastasia, Subculture. Oh my. This palette. This palette had quite a few knickers and a twist whenever it first came out and it launched, but I think I was like maybe the only person that liked this palette. I love this palette. Still to this day, I absolutely love it. This is actually my second one, hence why it's so clean. But I did end up hitting pan in this one in actually 3 shades. So this one, you can see that I've hit pan in this one. I'm not too sure how it's coming off on camera, but because it is quite a light shimmer, you might not be able to see it too much. But I love this palette. I love the color story of this palette. I love the shades, I love the tones. It's not a beginner friendly palette. I could understand why so many people didn't like this palette because it's a bit of a nuisance to work with. You definitely need to put in the time and the effort to help make it blend and work. That's one thing I will say about it, so I can understand where people are coming from when they say they don't like it, but I loved it. I loved the colour story of it, and it worked well for me. I never had a problem or an issue with this palette using it. I have this wee Beauty Bay Pastels palette. We have 2 shades here what I've hit pan on. Everybody needs a good pastel palette, and this wee palette from Beauty Bay is so good. I don't know why this is in here, but I use this on my eyes, so it kind of counts. The Anastasia Aurora Glow Kit. See this shade on the eyes? It's beautiful. Just as toppers, they're beautiful as toppers because they have the most gorgeous shifts to them. Oh, stunning. And then this palette is disgusting. I use this palette all the time. It's also from Colourpop and it's the Roaring Hearts palette. This is the palette that I will travel with and everything. But it's so good. As you can tell, you'll probably be able to tell as to why this is like my traveling palette. This shade here is completely out. This is like a transitional color for me, so obviously it was just amazing. And then I've hit pan on these 2 shades here, so the darker brown and kind of like this mid-tone brown. I've made quite a dent in the black, but we haven't hit pan as of yet. But yeah, like this is definitely like a go-to like traveling palette for me because it obviously has like those everyday shades that I'm going to be using whenever I'm traveling to create a smoky eye, smoky winged liner, you know. Whenever I'm going traveling or I'm holidays, whatever, I'm not going to be creating like crazy makeup looks. So because this palette from Colourpop has run out of that transitional shade, I have now moved on to the Cash Beauty palette Crystal Nights. And I now use this as kind of like my everyday travel palette, and I use this shade here for my transitional crease colour. And I'm also talking about it as well because I've hit pan. So as you can see, I've hit pan on this shade here in the centre. As you can see, I've made like the biggest dent ever in the transitional shade, and I do not know how I haven't hit pan yet. Any day this week, I would say. I've hit pan on, of course, a load of my Beauty Bay palettes, so let's go through them. This is the Edge of Opulence palette. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. These palettes, these freaking palettes. They're so gorgeous, they're so nice, it hurts. But I've actually only hit pan on one shade, which is the dark purple at the bottom. I don't use these palettes as much as I really should, and the reason for that is because they don't do them anymore. And then Sunset Horizons, I think I've went through the yellow in this. The only shade here that I've hit pan on is of course the yellow, as I said there. I've actually made quite a dig in this shade and this shade. I think that's cute. It's so funny. And do you know what? Like barely any other shade is touched. Oh, this is another absolutely beautiful one. This is the Book of Magic palette. You just have this dark blue and this kind of like turquoise colour, but I can see that I've used quite a lot of the shimmer shades in this palette as well. So these two and this one, and then the rest of the other shades are barely touched. But looking at those palettes, how beautiful are they? I have hit pan quite a few times in my Clientele palette. It's definitely a go-to palette if I'm wanting to do something really nice and natural and smoky. I feel like it's also a very wearable palette, and especially if you're a makeup artist, it's a fantastic palette because we obviously have those like a daytime wearable shades and kind of like nighttime glam shades as well. And we also do have like our pops of colour, but our wearable pops of colour, like this green, we have a lilac, we have like a couple of like mustards and reds and stuff in there. Nothing too crazy, too bold, too, you know, not anything that's going to put you out of your comfort zone, but they're all pretty wearable colours. And then this is another fantastic palette from Be Perfect that they've also discontinued. The Dream Big Manifest palette. The two shades I have hit pan on are this really beautiful like khaki green and the black. Oh my goodness, I have just dunked the corner of that mirror into that shadow. So this is the Made by Mitchell palette that was in collaboration with Beauty Bay, or it's Beauty Bay's palette in collaboration with Made by Mitchell. Yes. And do you know what? I still use this. I still use this, especially for you. Hold on, give me a minute. Especially for this shade here, like the transitional shade. Like as I say, I still use this like on a day-to-day basis and whatever, depending on what shade I'm be wanting or using. But this is a very hard palette to hit pan on, and I think it was because of like the pan sizes. They're so big. So yeah, I've hit pan on this shade here, this really nice like transition color, and then I'm not too sure if you can see it, but I have hit pan on this really nice kind of like ice cream baby pink. Gorgeous, gorgeous color. But this palette, like, it's such a shame that this palette doesn't exist anymore, because how freaking beautiful is this? Isn't it so pleasing to look at? Like, just this side on its own, beautiful. This side on its own, beautiful. Fairy 2.0 palette from Beauty Bay. Of course I've hit pan on this. I've actually hit pan on quite a few shades in this. This orange, dark brown, and then this beautiful like raspberry shimmer shade. Stunning palette. And then lastly we have these two palettes here from Colourpop. Of course I've hit pan on these palettes. These are both go-to palettes, by the way. Day-to-day basis, on and off camera. Love them. They're so good. I would recommend these eyeshadow palettes to everybody and anybody, especially if you're somebody that you're just, you know, you're just looking like a really nice neutral palette that has all the neutral tones and undertones that you're going to need in one palette. I would recommend the Bare Necessities. Same applies, but with cool tones. Stone Cold Fox palette. And a bonus, they're really affordable, they're really good quality, they are a fantastic formula, and there is matching shimmers in them as well. So you're not just having like a matte palette, you have a mixture of your mattes and shimmers and stuff, and your different like dimensions and everything. But I've actually only hit pan on one shade in this palette. And I don't know why. But yeah, just this shade here. Yeah, like I'm near about hitting pan in this shade here, but definitely this one. I wonder why that is. Yeah, I've made quite a dent in this shade here, and this one. Nowhere near getting through that black, but yeah. The Stone Cold Fox. I've only went through or hit pan on one shade. I'm nearly hitting pan on this shade as well, actually. You can kind of see like the wee dents. Oh, I've used the black quite a lot in this palette as well, actually. So that's it, guys. Anybody asleep? Wakey wakey. I'm done. you can go now. So obviously if you want me to continue this on and show you what products I have hit pan on with blush, highlight, powders, single shadows, etc., please do let me know in the comments down below. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye.